Today I'm going to be talking to the president of Suffolk University's Horror Club, Elizabeth. This is a fairly new club that was added to Suffolk's list of organizations in September of 2021 and features everything horror-related, whether it be books, movies, podcasts, or anything else that's scary. Elizabeth, so what was your inspiration behind starting this club?
So horror is kind of the genre that I like most in many pieces of media. And I was kind of shocked to see that I couldn't find many other people who had also been interested in it.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted to eventually I did find people, but then we didn't have any way to express this interest. So I thought that it would be good to start a horror club because I saw that many people were actually interested and would have wanted to express this.
Yeah. How was your first club meeting, and how did you work to get people interested in the club since starting it?
So basically at first, it was a very haphazard attempt to get people to come. I went to the involvement fair and personally handed out flyers and candy because we didn't have a table. But I would say a good amount of people, almost 20 people showed up to the first meeting. And we basically, introduced ourselves and talked about why we were there. And I thought it was a pretty good community. Obviously the amount of people has lessened since then. Retention has not been good throughout COVID for a lot of clubs, but it's still a good group, and we're actually closer now that it's less people. So
do you think that you knew a lot of the people that first expressed interest in the club, or was it people you hadn't previously met?
Some of them were people I'd met, and that's kind of who I picked for my e-board, so that we could work together. Eventually even people who I didn't know came into the e-board, and a lot of people I didn't know were in the group, so I met people who I previously hadn't, and we shared a lot of interest.
That's awesome. What was your favorite and most successful event you've had so far?
We've had some Zoom meetings whenever the school was closed for a snow day, and I thought that those would be hard because people don't want to be on Zoom anymore, obviously, and for good reason. But we would play Jackbox, we would watch movies over Zoom, and that was actually good, especially since a lot of people said I usually can't make it because I have work or something, but now I could because of this Zoom meeting. So I was thinking, maybe we should do, kind of a mixed hybrid session in the future,
Yeah, that's cool. And then I saw that you did a collaboration with the Suffolk Video Gamers Army. So then you did that event this month. So how did that help you gain more members and more interest, and how was that event in general?
It was a good event. I think it's kind of, the overlap is already huge, between the two. So it's not it was really for more members. We thought advertising would help, but it was honestly kind of the same group as usual. So our group meets in the Sawyer basement, and then we come out to the Sawyer lobby almost every time to a VGA event because they're always there, and so we come up and the group has mingled pretty significantly. So
yeah, so it's you're already collaborating.
Yeah, it's
anyways, basically.
We're basically both in the same club.
But that's funny.
But it was fun.
What are some future goals that you have for the club, or any ideas for future events that you have in mind?
So we had, in our first semester, we had an author come speak, and few people could make it because it was just not on a good day. It was I think Veterans Day or something, so already classes had been canceled. So not many people were able to come, but I think future events like that, where it's an author or a filmmaker coming to talk about their work, would be really cool. And that's what I hope to do in the future. I've heard some people mention, wanting to do a horror-themed dinner party, which I also think would be really cool. I don't know how reasonable it is, but I would try. I would like to, try and do it. So yeah, that's kind of what I'm looking forward to. Maybe getting more people, but I kind of like the small group that we have at this point.
The Q&A you were talking about, that was the one with like, I think it was like Paul Tremblay or something
Yes,
like that.
yeah.
That's really cool that you like got him on to do that. 'Cause did you reach out to him and ask
Yes.
him to just come in and do a Q&A?
Yeah, I asked him on Instagram and he actually answered, and that was my first shock. And then I was like, wait, he actually can do it, but this is the only day he can do it.
That's
So,
cool though that you got
yeah.
him like in the first place to come
Yeah.
too.
He's a
Because he
cool
won
guy,
a couple
too.
awards, right?
Yeah, like
Yeah.
he's fairly well known in at least Massachusetts horror, but
Yeah, that's awesome. When you graduate, do you think that somebody else will continue the club legacy, or do you have anybody in mind, or?
I hope so. I mean, at this point, like, I don't have anybody who would, like, take the position at this point, but I think we'll kind of get there when we get there, especially next year. It's like I can still be president next year, and that's probably what will happen, but after, like, whenever I'm leaving, now it's a different story completely.
Yeah. And then this is my last question. Was the process of starting a club at Suffolk simple, and what advice would you give to students looking to create their own clubs?
I think it was a fairly simple process, meeting with someone with SLI, making an account for exposure and, you know, trying to drum up interest before you really even make anything official, getting an e-board, and then starting a constitution, which is also fairly easy. But I would probably suggest to people who are looking to start clubs here that, like, do get into the budget talk early and, like, make sure that, you know, your treasurer understands what kind of monetary needs you have, because that can be really difficult, is figuring out, like, what kind of money you would need and for what, because you really have to actually justify your budget to Suffolk for them to want to fund you.
Yeah, that's definitely good advice.
Yeah.
I can see that definitely being like the most difficult aspect of it. But yeah, anything else that you want to add?
No, I think I'm all right.
Okay, well, thank you so much. That was
No problem.
perfect.